And welcome to episode one of the podcast From Breakup to Badass. I'm so excited that you guys are here. This is my first episode, and this is my first podcast in English. I do have a podcast in Spanish for 2.5 years now, but this is my first one in English, and I'm so excited about it. My name is Yanira Puy. If you don't know me by now, I'm a speaker, I'm a wellness badass coach, and the creator of the From Breakup to Badass framework. So, before we dive into healing, into empowerment, into becoming, I wanted to share my story. Not the polished version, but the real one. And this is what episode one is all about because behind this podcast, behind the frameworks, behind the fire, there is a woman, who's been cracked open, brought to her knees, and has had to build or to rebuild the life over and over again, which is great because I have so much experience with it. All right. So, this is my story. A few years ago, I was living in Colombia. I was with my husband for 7 years in a relationship that I thought it would be my last relationship. My mom, she always said that I have had too many boyfriends. I think now she's praying for a new one. But definitely, I thought this was the one that I would be married for the rest of my life, and the one that I would grow all together, right? So I think I had followed love and I have followed my dreams, and just one day the life that I thought I had, it was over in a second because that's how life is. It changed in a matter of seconds, in from 1 minute to the other, and everything shifted in my life. The relationship ended, and it was the end of everything as I knew. But let me tell you a little bit about this story. So, I've been with my ex-husband for 7 years. I always said it was an amazing 7 years together until it wasn't, right? And it happens like that. But I can just feel love and appreciation for the relationship that I had because it was an amazing one for a number of years. But one day, he, we had an argument. I was living in Colombia at that time. I live now in Atlanta, Georgia. And he said to me, well, actually we weren't together. He said that he needed to talk. He actually left for the city. We had two different homes, one in the city and one in the countryside. So I was in the we were in the countryside, and then he left because of the argument. And the next day he said, well, I need to talk to you. And we hopped up on a Zoom call, and he said something like this is how I remember, because I'm sure it was a shocking experience but that time. He said, there are three things that keep the marriage together: kids, history, and love. We don't have kids together, our history is not long enough, and I don't love you anymore. Oh my God. I think those three things that he said, those sentences, shatter my world. And one day I was married, and the next day, everything, my life as I knew it, it was over. And the relationship ended that day. And it wasn't just the end of a love story, which was an amazing love story. We met online, and everything about it was just amazing. How he proposed to me with a flash mob. But at that point, when he said those three things, everything in me collapsed. My world shattered. And it was a collapse of a vision, of a future, and an identity. Because I do believe, like women, we sometimes we lose ourselves in the relationship. We are nurturers, right? That's that's how we were raised in our traditions and everything. So we feel like we need to nurture. And when I say I lost myself, is that I lost my identity because I always wanted to do things for him, for the kids, and I have to tell you something. I don't regret anything, anything. I did it because I really felt like it. But after what happened, I felt like, wow, I had spent years showing up for others, trying to make it work, trying to keep it all together, because that's, at least that's how I did it. But the truth is that I disconnected from myself, and that's how I say, like, I lost my identity. So that happened in Colombia. I think 5 months after that, while we were, getting everything together, the divorce finalized, the home, everything, I came back to the United States after 12 years in Colombia. So imagine, it was not just the divorce, it was just not the heartbreak. It was also that I was moving to a different country after 12 years being away from it. So I developed a life, I built a life in Colombia, and then I came back to Atlanta. Amazingly, I have friends here, which were, and my family, which were my support system. You know who you are. If you are watching or listening to this episode, oh my God, thank you. Cuckoo, Astrid, Nora, Hise, Andy, Caro, everybody. My family, my brother Warren, my sister Saida, and my mom. She was a rock during everything. So I really appreciate you. So I just wanted to say that. But anyway, so I came here. I was, I think, 47 years old, almost to be 48 or something like that. And I mean, I came back not in celebration. I came back with my heart broken, in a heartbreak, right? And even though I was surrounded with all these people that I mentioned to you before, and I mean, I'm sure that I missed several others, I'm sorry, but I felt like I didn't recognize who I was anymore. And I felt like I had done all the things right. I got my business together. I got an MBA, another master. I took risk in life. I followed my heart. But at that point, I was exhausted. I was actually emotionally drained, in a body that what was no longer mine. And I was grieving a relationship. Yes, like it's like my husband died, but also I was grieving the version of me that was in the relationship, you know? And I didn't feel myself anymore. It's like for 12 years I was in Colombia, for 7 years I was with this guy, with his family. I mean, his parents were my parents in Colombia. So I just lost everything, and I lost all the dreams that we were building together. So if you're listening to this, if you're going through a heartbreak, if you haven't been able to move forward, I get it. I know how you feel because I felt it too. And I mean, I feel that this happened not only with this breakup, it had happened to me when I lost my job, when I moved country, when I was dealing with an eating disorder. Anyway, so at that point, coming back to Atlanta, I felt heartbroken, of course, and I didn't know where to begin. But didn't I know where to begin? I mean, I knew because I have coached so many women in my life. I mean, when I transitioned from corporate America to actually coaching and my speaking business and everything, and I knew. I started thinking like, okay, I have overcome so many things in my life. When I was 18 years old, I deal with an eating disorder. I was bulimic. So at that point, after several months dealing with an extra weight, like I didn't know how to handle, I ate and I threw up. I said to myself, like, I remember that day, like watching myself in the bathroom vomiting. And I said to myself, like, Janita, this is not who you are. Like, what are you doing? You need to like get out of this, like heal yourself. And I was 18 years old. I'm sure, my psychologist or my psychotherapist or my coach, they wouldn't agree that I would be able to heal myself at 18 years old. I mean, your brain is not even developed when you're 18 years old. But you know what? I said, I am going to do it. So, I mean, I deal with that. I deal with when I lost my job, when I was here in the United States and I wanted to stay. I had visa problems, and I wanted to stay here. And I did everything that I could to stay here, right? And I applied for a waiver from the United States, which I got and everything. However, I was leaving, I finished my MBA and I had like the six-figure salary with a signing bonus and everything. And at some point, because of my visa, because I didn't have the visa yet to work in the United States, I said, no, we cannot keep the offer for you anymore. And I was devastated and I lost myself and I distanced myself from everybody. And it wasn't even pandemic. I'm talking about 2001, right? But I felt like my job defined me, which I know, of course, it didn't. And, I'm telling you all these stories because there's a purpose. I overcame everything. And if you see your past, you're going to know that you have overcome so many things because you are a badass. I know inside of you, there's a badass waiting to happen, just like it happened to me. So, coming back from my separation and my divorce, when I came back here, I started small. And even in Colombia, when I first separated from my ex-husband, I started small. I knew one of the things that I knew is that I needed to grieve. Ever since we're kids, our parents, every time we cry, what do they say? Like, okay, I'm going to ask you this question, and you're at home, and maybe you're in the car, just answer. If you I don't know, if you were running and you fell and you started crying, what would your parents say to you? Or you broke a toy and you were crying, what would your parents say to you? I want you to think about it, right? Okay, most of us, the normal people, our parents would say, don't cry. So ever since we were kids, they would tell us, do not cry. So ever since we were kids, they would say, do not feel your emotions. And one of the things that I really felt during my process and my divorce, I felt all the emotions, the sadness, the uh, I don't know, the fear of not being able to pull back, the rage or whatever. I actually didn't feel rage, right? But everything that I felt, like the envy, I don't know, the disappointment, right? This is one of the first time that I felt everything as I should have. I let myself cry without saying, oh my God, you're so weak. I let myself, and I think that was a pivotal moment in my life because I let myself feel. And this is very important. And we're going to learn how to, manage the emotions when we keep talking in the podcast. But, even though I numb myself with other things or maybe watching a movie or something that I did karaoke with like very sad songs. It helped me. It helped me like went through my emotions. But I also reconnected with my body through movement. I knew that exercise has been a very important part of my life. If you know me, you know that my perfect date, it would be like take me to exercise. I remember my birthday was like the last month, and my friends were, what do you want to do, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, we can go and hike. And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, I want to spend my time with you, so it's okay whatever we do. But anyways, I know that movement is very important, not only for your physical but for your mental and your emotional health. So I never stopped doing that. I never stopped meditating. So I used to wake up, meditate while I was in the middle of the divorce, meditate first, then work out. And then, if I cried or if I sang karaoke, it was okay. But I did that. Something else that I did, I listened to podcasts, just like the one that you're listening to now or you're watching. I listened to conferences about detaching because I was living my life for 12 years in Colombia and I was not taking anything back or bringing anything back to Atlanta. So for some reason, that really helped as well. And, and in the middle of that quiet, that lonely, uncomfortable space, the spark came back to life. And I realized, this heartbreak didn't ruin me, it revealed me. The badass that it's like sitting here right now talking to you. And it was asking me to rise it, not in a fake ill, like to make it way, right? But in grounded, embodied, whole women kind of way. And you know, was it was it easy? No. I mean, it took me time. It took for me to take action. It took for me to feel my emotions, to let go, to take care of myself, to walk into a new person. It took things for me to do in order to become who I am right now. And it's not like, yes, I found a solution one day from the other. It's not a magic pill, it's not a magic wand, but I built my healing brick by brick by myself, using the same tools that I've used before to overcome adversity, the tools that I teach in my classes, in my workshops, in my webinars, to people like you, to women like you. And that's when From Breakup to Badass journey began. And this is a beautiful story because I do think, as I have mentioned so many times, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. I have heard this phrase so many times. And every time I feel like a victim, I mean, sometimes, you want to feel like a victim. But the thing is that when you victimize yourself, you're giving the power to somebody else. You are actually not taking responsibility for your life. So when I'm feeling like a victim, I and when I'm aware, I'm like, okay, this is not me. So what I did is like I took everything that I was learning, that I was feeling, that I was facing, and I started putting it together and I started creating a roadmap, that a path, right? That honor the emotional process and the power waiting on the other side. And like the first time I created a framework with this, it was called Embrace. Why? Because that's what I had to do. I had to embrace my emotion. I had to like embrace as a framework. If you, it's an acronym, EMBRACE. So E for embrace your emotions, right? You need to how to deal with your emotions. You have to shift your mindset, come back to your body, that's owning your power, build the resilience that you need. Because yes, when adversity comes, resilience takes you and to help, it helps you to become stronger. Staying in the present moment, that's so important. Reconnected with other, like, the relationships are so important for your healing process, and stepping into your full power. So all of this is very important. And it wasn't, as I mentioned before, it wasn't just clean. It wasn't from, one day to the other. It was messy. It was real. It was liberating. Sometimes I would cry. Sometimes I would laugh. But every time I knew what to do, and I knew the things that were important for me to become the badass that I am now. That it was always there, but it's just like kind of I lost her at some point during this transition. So before we dived into all the episodes ahead, I wanted you to know that I'm here not as a guru, right? I'm here as a guy who has walked through the fire and make it without any burns. But I mean, for sure, I have one or two burns in my body. But if you're listening and you're somewhere in that dark hallway between who you were and who you are becoming, I get it. I see you and I honor you. And I have made this podcast for you, From Breakup to Badass. And remember, you know, if if you're listening to me right now because you know me, because you kind of wanted to know what I was going to say, this is not only about breakup. When I was thinking about doing this podcast, I I started with embrace change, which is my other framework about overcoming adversity. And then I decided to do from breakup to badass. But from breakup to badass, it could have been from broken to badass, from heartbroken to badass, from stuck to badass. So I wanted to give you this information so you can make the decision to come back and listen to episode 2, because the idea here is that I'm going to give you the tools, I'm going to give you stories, I'm going to give you tools so you can take all this information, right, and build your own magnificent life, your amazing life, the life that you were deserve to have, because you know what, you're an amazing human being and you can be that badass. So if you're ready to take it to the next level, I have a free gift on the description of the episode. Please go there and sign up and get your free gift. I'm going to have something for you in every episode so you can start actually um, working towards yourself. I think, I have spent so much time in my life, especially maybe in the last, let's say, 10 years, and maybe more in a different way, maybe the last 7 years or something like that. But I have spent so much time like listening to podcasts, reading books, doing exercises to become the better version of myself. And I have to tell you something, I do love my version just the way she is, all messy, my hair is messy. um Most likely if my friends are watching to me, it's like, couldn't you like take a comb and comb your hair today? But this is who I am. This is my authentic me. Anyway, I would encourage you to start listening to this podcast and do the exercises that I'm going to provide, because I have done the work. And I was actually in a masterclass today, and I was telling the people who were in the masterclass, there's always a slow way and a fast way. And I have done the slow way. And the slow way is like, you know, just like maybe reading books, maybe journaling here and there. But when you actually do the work yourself, that's when you see changes. That's when you see transformation. So the idea of this is that you start transforming your life and become the badass that is right inside of you. And if you like the podcast, please put a review. Please share with someone that really needs to be a badass right now. And that that friend that she's a badass, but she doesn't believe it herself. This podcast is for her. And please subscribe, because the more that you share and you subscribe, the more people are gonna see this kind of oh my god, I forgot the word, but this concepts and this uh oh i did, I really, I'm blank. Anyway, so send it to this person who really needs to listen to that, and I'm just gonna leave you with something that hopefully is gonna inspire you. Your heart didn't break you, it woke you up. Now go live like the badass that you are. You've got this. And I'm going to show you how. See you next week.